But first, I do want to talk about the anger, the emotion, and the fear that is out there. And Senator Daschle, let me begin with you. All of these town halls, have they altered or derailed the chance for reform this year?
David, I think it's actually been a good thing. I think that it's drawn even greater focus on the issue. You've got President Obama out there in places all over the country talking and trying to set the record straight. Obviously, these are emotional issues. This is the noise of democracy. You ask 300 million people what they ought to do about health care, and you're going to get a lot of different ideas, some of them very deeply emotional. But the bottom line is, I think this really does help a lot.
But it helps, it doesn't hurt. You really believe that it doesn't hurt?
Well, obviously, the misinformation hurts. Obviously, if you provoke fear, that hurts. But the opportunity that we have to set the record straight, to keep the focus on the issue, to recognize that there are millions of people out there who don't have health care, to recognize that there are so many people out there that are left out. 12 million people have been discriminated against because they have an illness. We've got huge cost problems, huge quality problems, and this is our opportunity really to lay the record straight, to put the focus where it belongs, and to get this job done for the first time in 70 years.
All right, but let's talk about the tone of the debate. There have been death threats against members of Congress. There are Nazi references to members of Congress and to the president. Here are some of the images. The president being called a Nazi. His reform effort being called Nazi-like, referring to Nazi Germany. Members of Congress being called the same. And then there was this image this week outside of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, a town hall event that the president had. This man with a gun strapped to his leg held that sign. It is time to water the tree of liberty. It was a reference to that famous Thomas Jefferson quote, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." That has become a motto for violence against the government. Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber, had that very quote on his shirt the day of the bombing of the Murrah building when 168 people were killed. Senator Coburn, you are from Oklahoma. When this element comes out in larger numbers because of this debate, what troubles you about that?
Well, I'm troubled any time when we stop having confidence in our government, but we've earned it. This debate isn't about health care. Health care is the symptom. The debate is an uncontrolled federal government that's going to run 50% of everything we're spending this year. We're borrowing from the next generation.
That's what. Hold on. I want to stop you there. I'm talking about the tone. I am talking about violence against the government. That's what this is synonymous with.
But the tone is based on fear of loss of control of their own government. What is the genesis behind people going to such extreme statements? What is it? We have lost the confidence to a certain degree. And it's much worse than when Tom was the leader of the Senate. We have raised the question of whether or not we're legitimately thinking about the American people and their long-term best interest. And that's the question. The male volume of all the senators didn't go up based on the health care debate. The male volume went up when we started spending away our future indiscriminately. And that's not Republican or Democrat. That has been a problem for years, but it's exacerbated now that we're in the kind of financial situation and economic situation.
Congressman Armey, FreedomWorks, your organization, advocacy organization, getting together a lot of folks, coordinating a lot of the efforts to get people out for the protests. Do you bear some responsibility for the tone of the debate?
Not whatsoever. Not when you see the kind of extreme thing you just saw. I had my differences with President Bush, George W. Bush. There's no doubt about it. They were well aware of that. But when MoveOn.org ran those ads that compared President Bush with Adolf Hitler, I thought it was despicable. They did do it. And I'll show you the ad.
They never ran an ad that compared. MoveOn never ran an ad that compared.
Well, hold on. Finish your thought.
And then you're going to get your chance to talk. Well, I just looked at the MoveOn.org ad again this morning. It was a horrible thing. It was horrible to see this. But I have had town hall meetings since 1984. There are always a lot of colorful people that show up with town hall meetings. A lot of people with a lot of colorful statements. When FreedomWorks encourages people to go to town hall meetings, we encourage them to go and make their points clearly, assertively, and with good manners. So I don't know who these folks are. We certainly bear no responsibility.
But you say good manners. The House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wrote an op-ed this week during which she said, drowning out opposing views is simply un-American. Drowning out the facts is how we failed at this effort for many decades. Un-American, Rachel?
I think that anytime you're trying to stop discussion, I think that's un-American. But I take issue with the idea that the government has done anything to earn the kind of threats of violence that we have seen.
I didn't say that.
Well,
what I said is it is indicative of the loss of confidence, and when people are afraid, they do all sorts of things that they normally wouldn't do. We have undermined by our actions, whether it be earmarking and corruption and disconnection between integrity and character in what we do and what the people expect. And these are just symptoms of a lack of confidence in what we're doing.
Whether or not the government has acted in a way that you feel is defensible, I don't think the government has done anything to earn, in your words, the threat of that the blood of tyrants must run in the streets, which is what the literal threat was from that man with a gun strapped to his leg in New Hampshire. I also don't think that there is an equivalence between what MoveOn.org has done and with the comparisons of the president to Hitler that we've seen so often in this debate. I mean, some of the major organizations who are organizing these events, like Americans for Prosperity, a group that has some similarities to FreedomWorks but is definitely a different group, they've had speakers going around the country not only comparing healthcare reform to Hitler, but comparing them to Pol Pot and Stalin, saying, put the fear of God into your members of Congress. I don't think the government has done anything to earn that.
Congressman?
Well, first of all, I don't know what Americans for Prosperity has done, but if in fact they deserve to have fire on your bunker, please put your fire on their bunker. I don't want it on my bunker. The fact of the matter is, we had Nancy Pelosi within the last 6 months stand up before a very vocal and raucous group and say, I love disruptors. Here's the Speaker of the House saying, I love disruptors. So the fact of the matter is there's been some provocation by officially elected people. And that's not a happy thing. MoveOn.org has been a very aggressive organization. What we believe you should have is people show up, people assertively answer the very difficult questions, and for people to be well-mannered. Now, I'd like to go on something that Dr.
But you have to admit, the notion that people are being well-mannered is not happening.
That may be with some people. I'm appalled by what I see too by some people. But
so you repudiate the Nazi imagery, and all of that. That you repudiate that.
Absolutely,
that has no place in the debate.
As I said, I repudiated it when MoveOn.org did it to George Bush. Did anybody here at this table repudiate it?
You remember?
We've just heard that it was all right when MoveOn did it.
That's not true.
But it's not all right when anybody does.
The Tea Party Patriots is an organization that your organization is a member of a coalition with. It's called the Tea Party Patriots Healthcare Freedom Coalition Partner. That's what FreedomWorks is. That's what Americans for Prosperity is. If you go to Tea Party Patriots right now, what they've got on their front page of their website, the top item is a video showing the violence at the town hall in Ybor City in Tampa, Florida, essentially promoting that as if that was a good thing that happened, that showed what the Healthcare Freedom Coalition wants to have done in the healthcare debate. FreedomWorks is part of that coalition. You can say that you denounce it, but the organization that you head is part of it.
Listen, one of the fascinating things, by the way, about the Tea Party movement, it is an enormously impressive grassroots uprising across the country, loosely affiliated people, and there's probably 100, 200 different websites by different people. Somebody in Oregon's got one, somebody in Illinois. We had a situation where somebody in Connecticut that we did not know and who did not know us put out something that was mischaracterized and then attributed to us by somebody who obviously didn't have enough diligence in their ability to do their research to get their facts straight. These things happen. People get blamed for what other people do. But the fact is that just causes further aggravation. Especially when you start talking about elected officials, people that have the privilege of having news shows under the license granted by the federal government, they should at least have the adult discipline to get their facts correct.
Are you a member of the Tea Party Patriots Healthcare
I am
Freedom
a member
Coalition?
of FreedomWorks, and FreedomWorks works with many people who fight for and argue on behalf of individual liberty.